Today I would like to read a random page from my book, The Crumbling of a Nation and Other Stories. First, we need to pick a page. Let's go with this page right here. This particular page takes place in the middle of the titular story, The Crumbling of a Nation. The story opens with Francis Smith, the heir of a multi-billion-dollar empire, looking out the window of his penthouse apartment at Central Park, which is now completely overrun with homeless people, and details his absolute hatred for these people, because he just sees them as people who are ruining his view, even though it was because of what he and his family have done to create this empire that led to all of these homeless people now being in Central Park. But this story is not only about the ignorance of this wealthy man, it's also about this common phenomenon that I see far too much in this country, which is poor people worshiping the very rich people who have made their lives so miserable. Let's get to the reading. As the number of tents in Central Park grew exponentially, so too did the violence, the unrest, the dangers of the city Francis had grown in, the city he had once loved. And before he knew it, the dangers had reached the doorstep of his empire. As the caregiver, he was faced with a difficult decision to remove his family and his empire from New York City. He gathered his 3 kids and 11 grandkids and over 24 great-grandkids and the scores of in-laws and cousins and nephews and nieces he had accumulated over the years and ordered them to all pack their things. The decision forced upon him made him distraught. He mourned the city he had grown up in. He mourned the park he had spent his entire childhood adoring. He mourned the life he had been stripped from by the good-for-nothings outside his window. But as the caregiver of the Smith Empire, he had to prevent it from falling like every other great empire before it, like the American Empire was doing before his eyes, crumbling to dust. And so, with a caravan that extended nearly a mile, the Smith family left New York City behind. But they did not travel alone. Francis knew that for an empire to survive, workers were needed. So before he shut the doors to each of his businesses, he recruited his top employees, the ones he knew would be able to contribute to his new society. And they were glad to come, glad to escape the crime of New York City, glad to still have a job of any kind, glad to not be thrown to the streets like the thousands of former co-workers Francis had just fired. Guns peeked out the windows to deter thieves from approaching the caravan, though there were still thieves desperate enough to sacrifice anything, even their lives. As a result, many times their guns were shot, reloaded, and shot again. The dead thieves were put to good use by their fellow peasants. Their pockets were picked, their clothes stripped, their limbs torn to pieces, their skin burned to a crisp, their bones carved into weapons, and their meat quickly digested by the savages who had recently considered them friends or family. The workers saw this occur from the comfort of the vehicles provided to them by Francis and thanked the nearest Smith for saving them from such a harsh reality. "Thank you, miss," they said. "Thank you, sir," they said. "Without your kindness, we would be just like them," they said. "We owe you our lives."